Sup Shredders, my name is Logan, aka Spiderhands, and welcome to SB Reviews, where today we're going on a little bit of an adventure. We are going to be listening through it's the longest album I've reviewed. The longest. I haven't reviewed anything close to this. We have got a total of 30 tracks. And this is, to be fair, this is Greg Barnett has asked me to review this, disclosure, it's all good. And we're going to listen to each of them from start till finish. And we're going to hear what we think. Switching over to here, the Flat White album, made in Mud Juraba. Yeah, this is going to be, I'm going to do this in three different sessions, with this being the first. So if you see me looking slightly different, that's why. I'm excited for this. We're just gonna start with the C-bomb, track 1, and we're gonna hear what we think.
Well, first of all, I'm not a believer in global warming. I'm not a believer in man-made global warming. It could be warming and it's going to start to cool at some point.
Trump.
Don't be afraid. Don't be scared. It's coal. It was dug up by men and women who work and live in the electorates of those who sit opposite.
What we want crystal clear, clean water, right? Everybody. We want beautiful, right? We want beautiful air to breathe. We want safety. Other than that, that's what we want.
The climate changing has always been changing. There's never been a time when the climate hasn't been changing.
It's not a crisis. The climate's been changing forever, and it will always change.
What a hell of an intro, to be fair. This has gotten me incredibly interested in this album.
Is there climate change? Yeah. Will it go back like this? I mean, will it change back? Probably. That's what I think. And I believe we do have an impact, but I don't believe the impact is nearly what some say.
There was a time when we were blind. We believed that everything would work out fine.
Really nice texture to his voice. Really clear and easy to understand what he's singing. Thank goodness. I am so glad that the recording quality is on par, because if it wasn't, this would be a very long couple of hours.
We know now nothing comes for free. It's been laid out plain to see. Why doesn't everybody lend a hand?
Good question.
The world's been stretched out like a rubber band.
A little bit of dissonance there, asking with the music asking the question. It's fun.
That will soon be past, and it will snap far too quickly to grasp. We don't care for nature. We continue to rape her. A sweet paradise, but it's not here for free. Wild place destruction, concrete construction. But just turn your head and you don't have to see. The big men are saying you're wrong to be praying. It's a natural cycle today.
Alright, the vocals are very present in the mix. A really interesting story being told there about how we do take Mother Nature for granted, and it made sense in relation to these samples, the people that were talking at the start of the review. The guitar is very conversational. The rest of the elements are there to provide a platform for the singer to speak their truth on, and I enjoy that. Nice shaker there, dude.
Altered seasons, nothing bad will be coming our way.
All of this with the global warming. A lot of it's a hoax. It's a hoax.
A lot of us wish it was a hoax,
It's a
man.
money-making industry, okay?
Like, you look at those forest fires and stuff like that, man. I doubt people wanted their homes to be set
It's a
alight.
hoax. It's a hoax.
the sun seems to hang around. The wind and the rain are much stronger now, but no one's asking why or how. The seas have started rising now. Mountain tops and icy caps are all melting now.
Again, we're repeating those vocal melodies for effect.
Penetrates our daily grind because ordinary things fill our minds.
Yeah, that's absolutely right, man. We get too distracted by the daily stuff that we don't look at the big picture. Can't see the forest for the trees.
Our libido is slowing. I can't shake this feeling that it's all going wrong. The money is flowing, though everyone's knowing. We're playing the tune on our own funeral song. It's all milk and
I'm sorry, our own funerals. Wow. What a way with words Greg Barnett has. Damn, this is some hard-hitting stuff, dude. No way.
and believe what you want to believe. Because seeing
Really colorful chords.
keeps you
Nice extensions there with those fourth notes.
your mind makes you move.
Right. Sorry, but when I'm by fourth, I mean like there's been some additional notes in addition to the triad. Guitar solo. Really nice, simple lead melody. Fits perfectly. Because that's all you need with a guitar solo, man. You just need it to work with everything else. It doesn't need to be an ego project.
In this house made of sticks, a house that is owned by a clown. We could fix it with ease, but can't see the wood or the trees. Is that why we cut them all down? The joke's on us in this comedy of life. If you didn't laugh, you would surely cry.
Holy fuck, I'm so keen for the rest of this album. I think this is gonna be a pleasure. I think this is gonna be a good time. Wow, that was a hell of a finish to that. Good old lady, number 2 now. But wow, the C-bomb. I get it. I get it. Clever stuff, dude. This guy's got away with words. Similar in the note choice to
Here
C-bomb.
sitting on my own, just staring into space. A simple sort of solitude avoids a world much too strange to face. The hummingbirds and
I'm loving how much change there is in this chord progression and these acoustic guitar lines. Just it's been a long time since I've heard through compose stuff like this, and I really appreciate it. Thank you.
all the colors and sounds. Trees that soar into a clear blue sky lift me high when I'm feeling down. I found the peace and harmony and all the little things that soothe the soul. Beautiful simplicity that really works for me. I wish I knew this all before I got so old, wondering why I breathed these sighs and realized my happy cries were all about you.
Oh, so they're realizing how much, like in that moment of quiet, how much this other person meant to them and the importance of that external self
You
in that world.
know, I really do love you.
Just those bird sounds, the Foley, right? That is atmospheric. It kind of helps you to imagine that this person is sitting down in a park somewhere, reminiscing, becoming nostalgic, you know, doing some introspection. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's those little things that can really make a song special. It's obviously very different to what the C-Bomb was about, but Old Love feels oddly appropriate at the same time. You didn't need as much stuff that was going on with the C-Bomb and Old Love. It worked so well in 2 minutes. Just, oh, this is like oxygen for me. It's just so, I've missed this kind of music and I just don't listen to enough of it nowadays. Bubble Boy. Actually, no, I didn't like listen to the end of Old Love, so I'll listen to that. Here we go. There we go. Now I can get into Bubble Boy. I've had people get very grumpy with me because I missed the last few seconds, so I didn't want to avoid that. I wanted to avoid that, I mean. Okay, but an interesting sort of rhythm here. Is this 6/8?
Life pushing through a tunnel to a light that was beckoning to me.
It is 6/8, isn't it?
Since then I've been locked in a bubble, so my eyes have never seen a world so full of wonder.
Oh no, it's triplet groove, man. It's messing with those meters there.
Waiting for me patiently.
Nice rim shots on that kid, dude.
Aware of what I was missing, I was too wrapped up in me.
Nice little guitar-centric bit. I'm liking these little breaks in between the story that's being told. He knows how to finish a stanza really correctly.
To travel in a straight line, buffeted by life side to side. I don't make time to smell the roses or explore horizons wide. In a world so full of wonder,
Bridge.
waiting for me patiently, always blind to what I am missing. I am too wrapped up in me.
Oh, I get it. So Bubble Boy is just not able to look outside himself, his circle. Man, that's so easy to understand what these songs are about. I don't even really need to think about it. It's so good. Dude, half of my life at the moment, and without hyperbole, half of my life at the moment is reviewing music that's either in a language that I barely understand because I'm learning it, or a lot of the time you've just got really kind of mystical out there stuff, or unfortunately you just have some musicians who don't either record and mix themselves well enough, or they don't know how to pronounce the words and enunciate. But Greg Barnett is just so good at it. Oh man, I've got all the time for him, man.
Now I'm in another tunnel and I know no time for regret, what's done is done. If that oncoming light can't be made to slow.
You've got that parallel minor as a secondary chord there that introduces this sort of sense of uncertainty and danger into the harmony.
My body will burn in the sun, and the universe will still be full of wonder, making you life patiently. From the slime, the lightning and thunder, to see all it can see. Something new will arise more worthwhile, wiser, more grateful than me.
Tension and the shakers. Oh, that's not shakers. That's a hi-hat, isn't it? Oh, no, I'm sorry. I didn't mean any offense by that. Is the drummer using brushes? That's like a heartbeat, isn't it? Nice gritty tone to that guitar, man. That overdrive's kind of dope. So is Bubble Boy about someone who like was maybe obviously the father to the new child, and the father didn't get the opportunity to explore the world and do what he needed to, so he's hoping that the new child will be able to have a better life than they did? If so, that's kind of sad, but it's also kind of sweet because he realizes it eventually, you know? Just again with the heartbeat stuff, like we had the Foley of the Birds in Old Love, just so good. Those little touches, man. Last post. Yep. I get it.
Was it always ever thus, that we send the best of us, torn from their mothers and their wives, gambling loosely with their lives, marching bands and waving flags, no trauma yet nor body bags, the rank and file from coast to coast give no thought as yet to their last post. All excited and eager-eyed.
Just before we go any further, this hits me really deep, a little bit, and it's getting to me a little bit. It's just getting me a little bit emotionally. I'm not quite sure why that is, because this is Greg Barnett's experience.
Crossing lands and oceans wide, dying to join the dying trade, with tools of gun and trenching spade. Patriotic fervour soon wears thin on stale.
I guess I am listening to what he's saying, but I guess the reason that it was kind of hitting me a little bit is because I've been to the Anzac services, you know, and you hear that melody played by the soloist at the start of proceedings and on the trumpet, and it's such a shame that so many people lost their lives.
And adrenaline, fathers, sons, and the Holy Ghost. You can read us all in their last post. Tracer, mortar, bomb, and mine. Kill or break the body and mind.
Pretty heavy stuff. This is very different. Very, very different to Old Love, Bubble Boy, and the last post. I'm liking the marching drums, how they're continued throughout this track. I think that makes a lot of sense given the context of the song.
Who is who and which is which in the fog of war and the fighting itch? No one cares and no one learns. There'll always be young lives to burn, discarded under foreign skies, deaf to the sound of the bugler's cry. Over and over, again and again, generations of our best young men, placed in danger and great harm by those of us home, all safe and warm. How many have been cut and slain to soak the ground in blood and pain, dying in waves or alone for most, each approaching their own last post.
Just listening to this sounds absolutely horrific, doesn't it? But it's the reality of the situation with, you know, World War I and World War II, man.
Bandage,
and guts in hand.
What use the flag draped on a box to orphaned kids in bobby socks? A hero's tale that will only last until the winds of time redact the past. Too dumb when young, too wise when old, we decide on lives from half-truths told.
There's a sense of melancholy from the instrumental section.
And so again we'll send the best of us. Was it always ever thus?
And you've got these bugles, these samples going, and it's just these multiple stanzas is getting heavier and heavier, man.
We still march in rank and file that modern times don't reconcile. Uniformed fish in a high-vis barrel, stalked by hate dressed in street apparel. Our rules of law and high-placed morals are no exchange for wreaths and laurels. To come back home to lives stripped bare, just medals, ribbons, and a 1,000-yard stare.
Ooh, yeah, that's the real stuff. You know, I hear people when they send through music for me to review, and they're like, "This is the real shit." No, this is the real shit. Instantly one of the top 10 albums I've ever reviewed. Without hyperbole, for so many reasons that I'll talk about at the end of the video. I may even conclude at the track 10 marks. I'm taking a break at the Hamster Wheel. But Last Post, how it's so diligently describes the situation within the battlefield, the people involved in it, and the groups that benefited and lost from it, and people coming home with 1,000-yard stares after it all. I don't need to say anything. You people that are listening to this know exactly. You don't need me to explain this to you. This is the epitome of through composed music. It's some of the best I've heard in a very long time. And Greg Barnett, wow. Sunrise, number 5. Now, this is a completely different feel to Last Post, isn't it? Does sound like a morning, the sun rising up, doesn't it? I love the variety of the different tonalities of the songs within this track. Each of these is easily identifiable and unique. It's a smart idea to have Sunrise come up after Last Post. You couldn't have had anything near Last Post here. You couldn't have. It needed to be something a little bit less. I mean, like, it's justifiable in its intensity, don't get me wrong, but there's a lot more gentle and bright. Kind. Oh, some dominant 7th arpeggios going on here. You've got to admit that this is a person who really knows their music theory. Some of these chord shapes, these extended harmonies are pretty phenomenal, and knowing just how to roll with these different instruments is just blowing my mind, dude. Oh, wow. Is this going to be an instrumental the whole way through? Because I can be down for that. A little bit of uncertainty. Resolving to the major again. No. Oh, some interesting sort of pseudo-chromatic stuff going on here. Drums. Really interesting tone to that bass, actually. I haven't heard that for quite a while. We've got some woodwind in there as well. How many different instruments can Greg Barnett play? To know how to sort of layer them on top of each other like this as well. This is definitely more of an atmospheric track than a message-led one. It is an interesting shift with that flat 7 going into the major 7. No, actually, I hesitate. It's like the drums want to join in, but they kind of are also kind of remembering that they need to stay back a little bit and let the rest of the instruments have their time in the sun. Wow, that chord of them was luxurious and I adore it. Let's listen to that again. That's a ninth chord, isn't it? Wow. That was a magnificent way to end that. Somehow, it just comes out of nowhere. Even though I think you've been lulled into like being a part of the song. It gets in your head and it's so comfortable and pleasant. And it just resolves itself so neatly. What a sensational piece of music, man. Where has this guy been, dude? Down here. Track number 6. Flies? Kookaburra? Where are we going with this?
We love living in Australia. We love living down here. The rest of the world is second rate. 'Cause there's one thing I can tell you, mate, when we come back from overseas, back to the good old Antipodes. It's great to be living in Australia, so come on and join us down here.
Hey, to be honest, Australia is pretty cool. You've got some really cool animals, and you've got theme parks, and what else do you have that's pretty neat? You also you have Australia Zoo. That's pretty dope.
Outback dunnies, droughts and flood, peeling skin and boiling blood. Take me there if you please, my lud. I wanna go and live there. Ticks and spiders, stingers, snakes, googlies, leggies and off breaks. Wildlife noise keeps you awake, but we love living down here.
It does. I love the sing-songy playfulness of the guitar line. It's kind of an anthem, isn't it?
We love living in Australia. We love living down here. The rest of the world is second rate. 'Cause there's one thing I can tell you, mate, when we come back from overseas.
Double track vocals?
It's great to be living in Australia. So come on and join us down here. Countries, wombats, koala bears, kangaroos bounding everywhere. Crocodiles fix you.
He knows what he's doing with this. This is a very cute song.
Stare and kookaburras laughing down here. Indian Pacific, Southern Ocean, rivers, deserts, suntan lotion, shrimp on the barbie and snags in a bun. Got no worries down here. We love living in Australia. We love living down here.
That wugga 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 has a cool kind of groove to it, actually. It's a 16th note groove, isn't it?
The rest of the world is second rate. 'Cause there's one thing I can tell you, mate, when we come back from overseas, back to the good old Antipodes. It's great to be living in Australia, so come on and join us down here. Boxing Day at the MCG, snakes in the grass and sharks in the sea. We still work hard in 100 degrees. We love living down here.
Yeah, that is the one thing I will never be able to accept about Australia. How, like, I remember going there as a kid, because I live in New Zealand, and you just get there and it's 40 degrees. I'm like, this should be illegal. Why is it so hot?
Cricket,
Like,
rugby, Aussie
how
rules,
do you cope with
fun by
that?
The beach and the swimming pool, where nobody's boss and nobody's fool. We love living down here. We love living in Australia. We love living down here. The rest of the world is second rate. 'Cause there's one thing I can tell you, mate, when we come back from overseas, back to the good old Antipodes. It's great to be living in Australia, so come on and join us down here. Alice Springs, Uluru, surfing beaches, Kakadu, Oodnadatta and Woolloomooloo.
Yeah, you guys have got some really fun names in Australia. Yeah, are they? I want to know the origin behind some of those names because if I Google them, yeah, you've got like you've got all sorts. You've got all sorts of places, all sorts of fun. Road, Teddy Bear's Gap. This cannot be real, dude. Yeah, lots of fun names.
Love living down here. Melanomas, big beer guts, flies and mozzies drive us nuts. Losing at sport is a kick in the guts, but we love living down here.
Oh, tell me about it, dude. My parents, man, they hate losing to the Australians in sports.
The rest of the world is second rate, 'cause there's one thing I can tell you, mate, when we come back from
I like how we're getting more and more people in that room to record stuff as we go through the track.
back to the good old Antipodes. It's great to be living in Australia, so come on and join us down here. Barefoot singlets, shorts and thongs, slip, slop, slap, and the odd ding dong. We don't know the words of our national song, so come on over down.
No way you don't. No, man. To be fair, though, I'm a bit rusty on our national anthem, though, dude. Oh,
Now
no.
we're not all perfect, and it's not all fun, but you can't help smile beneath the sun. So keep the beers cold and the steaks well done, and we'll keep living down here.
Now, what is that instrument there? Is that an accordion you've got there? Did you have a didgeridoo at the start?
We love living in Australia, we love living down here. The rest of the world is second rate, 'cause there's one thing I can tell you, mate, when we come back from overseas, back to the good old Antipodes. It's great to be living in Australia, so come on and join us down here.
This is one of the most Australian songs I've heard in my life. That is the most Australian song in my life, and I adore it. Down Here. I reckon that should be the unofficial Australian national anthem now. That's pretty dope, dude. We got String Theory number 7. I know I didn't talk much about Down Here but I think that this song speaks for itself. I try to treat these more as like reviews than a reaction video, right? I try to analyze the songs as I listen to them. I think this was, again, it was like A, B, A, B, A, B structure. You had 3 or 4 or 5 times of that. And you had a little bit of an interlude section near the end where things slowed down a little bit and went back to the big finish. But yeah, it's fairly easy to follow. It's everything seemed to purposeful and tactful, even with a sense of humor. I like that. String Theory. Okay, this sounds a little bit more serious, doesn't it?
Pieces of different rope, 2 lives full of different hope. Bring them together, and what do you find? It always turns up in time. Tangled lines, tangled arms, too many knots and lovers' qualms. We grabbed the cord and fell overboard in love. So many times, too many.
Interesting. The music's very specific to the situation presented by the lyrics. It's very symbolic.
Lingering doubts that we can't rectify. Too many sighs and rolling eyes. It must be time for our goodbyes.
Okay, this is maybe not the best comparison, but the way the guy sings is kind of reminding me of Opeth a little bit. I don't know if you all have heard of Opeth, some of the acoustic stuff that Opeth does. It's very similar to this in very certain parts. Not like the acoustic stuff that Opeth do, not like the really hard stuff. But just the vocal style and the way the guitar is done and those chord progressions that are not following a typical key signature.
Sailing on uncertain seas, can't fight the current or do as we please. The ropes bind us tighter, our love keeps us dry.
Nice hand drums in there.
Stormy seas, broken keel, run aground is.
So is this about the people who are struggling? They're in love and they keep missing each other, and there seems to be this interference, and they are just not able to cope with the intensity of the situation.
But we still set sail, though we're bound to fail.
Oh.
Heavy sighs, misty eyes, starting to sink and wondering why.
Oh, I get it. So, like, they were broken to begin with. They just had problems that they could both see, but they decided to try and make it work anyways, and it was doomed to fail, right?
Too many ties, too many lies. It must be time for our goodbyes.
I guess when you lie like that, it is time to get going, you know?
Together we can do anything. Strong like rope made from string, twisted together, so close and neat, but friction causes heat.
I get it. I see how this is this is referring to string theory. I get it. It makes a lot of sense to me now. You know, when people are untied, they struggle. When people are joined together, they do better.
Up and down,
or when they try to connect.
riding storms with cries and frowns, side by side you and I, though I'm wondering why. So many times, too many lies, lingering doubts that we can rectify. Too many sighs and rolling eyes.
The instant change and the emotional content to those two chords, though, and a very simple change to the way that he's constructing and producing that melody there with his voice. Again, Greg Barnett knows how to take care of his overall harmonies and produce the effect he wants.
It must be time for our goodbye. Staring at the universe, I start to wonder which is worse.
Good job having the drums come in here. I think that's a nice additional layer.
Everything, or thinking we're just made of string. Is it time for me to break free? But I can't. You still tie me in knots.
You still tie me in knots. Well played. Well played, sir. I see what you did there. Clever wordplay throughout. This guy's a poet. This guy's a poet. I think that's the strength of this music is, you know, like if we remove Greg Barnett and his vocals from the equation, the music's pretty dope. You know, like there's been no major issues with any of the performances. For the vast majority of the time, the harmonies have made sense. The different instruments and the way they've been put together makes sense. Some have obviously hit harder than others, but that's just part of life, you know. It's fine for different songs to affect different people differently because that's the beauty of music being subjective, right? And I know I'm going to have to take a break soon from this because my throat's starting to get a bit sore, and that's not because of this, by the way. I've done like 5 or 6 reviews today. It's just been ridiculous, but just how he finished it. It's like he knows that that's the best way he could finish that song lyrically. And he just has that foley at the end. It's great. It's a mood. It's an atmosphere. It's important. A Little Death, number 8. Oh, going down to that minus +4 or something?
A tightening of the chest, a shortening of the breath. I'm all confused and wondering, is this love or is this death? Blinded by lightning in my eyes, made deaf by thunder in my ears.
I'll just be right back, actually. Just be a moment. Figured I wouldn't risk it. Let's continue. Sorry.
An ice cold hand is squeezing my heart. My eyes are drowned in tears.
I wonder what this means.
Different scenes and vivid dreams rush through my mind and out they go. It doesn't matter what you've come to know. Your paralyzed mind turned to dough.
Oh, we finished on a major chord there. That was interesting.
Expectations are something I should say.
I haven't quite figured out what the song means lyrically yet, but I'm sure we'll get there. I trust Greg Barnett at least more than myself to figure that out. He's pretty good at communicating
Make me
himself.
stop, too scared to talk. I'm sinking fast, I'm lost in the dark, lacking spark and bobbing like a cork. A sudden widening of the ice, emotions running wild.
You've got like an adversarial kind of feel to the dun-dun, like the harmony with the chord, guitar chords there.
Electric quivers in my thighs, feelings of another kind.
Okay, that guitar melody is quite present in that mix.
My brain accelerates to...
That's literally the only thing so far I've found. That part there, like it sits fine in the mix. It's a very powerful part on that clean guitar, but I'm wondering if that could have been down a 0.25 dB in the mix.
A vortex sucks
I'm assuming
me
it was
down
stylistic
its hole.
there for a stylistic reason.
I'll wait for the crash that will surely arrive. Spasms deep within my soul. I feel it's all coming to an end, that I'll soon be letting go. Look in my soul, but there's nothing there. Why, I just don't know. Different scenes and vivid dreams
Different scenes and vivid dreams.
rush through my mind and out they go.
Is this talking about someone who's quite anxious, like the person is affecting them like this? They're causing this physiological reaction?
It doesn't matter what you've come to know. Your paralyzed mind turned to dough. Once it's over and done, is it the same for everyone? Is this something in which you really believe? Or do you open that door and leave?
Is this someone realizing they might lose someone and they feel like they're powerless and can't do anything and they're wondering what that other person's next move will be?
What is this change come over me? A paradigm so plain to see. Behind your head a light shines high above. Is this death or is this love? What is this?
Wow, this sounds like a very extremely important decision that's being made there. A very important distinction, you know. For there to be that connection with that person that can feel like life or death is deep, man.
Change come over me.
Some organs going on here.
Is this death or love?
Okay, that one was a little bit more, I couldn't quite figure that one out. A little death. That could be because I left to get some water. But it sounds like there's this relationship that he has with this person. There were 3 different sections and the guitar parts were reasonably similar, apart from the points where he was talking about how he was dealing with his own struggles physiologically. It was a fairly solid groove throughout, though. Again, most of the instruments were there just to provide a platform for the story to be told. It was nice to have a little bit of extra layering there with the Hammond at the end, though. It's really, really cool. Yeah, I can assume it's just down to a person coping with how they feel about someone, understanding the power that they have over them, and wondering whether this pathway that they're going to go down is going to be love or death, I suppose. That's my best guess at it. And yeah, just about, again, like, we got a guitar suite for number 9. Okay, finishing that chord progression nicely. These jazzy harmonies are dope, dude. It's kind of fun because, Greg Barnett knows how to manipulate the progressions to go between keys. With that knowledge, you can just literally take the song in whichever direction you want. You're not limited to the 3 majors, minors, and the diminished. It's a really important skill to have. And it can drastically change the experience of the listener and also the mood of the song. Is this meant to be guitar suite? Isn't a play on words for S-U-I-T-E? If it is, that's not bad. That's pretty good, Greg. Good play on words. It's nice to see that we're still treating the guitar like a voice, that there's still a main dominant melody in this. But it's also not turning into a guitar solo for 3.5 minutes, I like that as well. That bass is putting in the work though, isn't it? Walking around the place like it owns it. I think it's just great to know that Greg has this ability on the guitars to orchestrate and sort of navigate a 3.5 minute track like this. It's nice and refreshing, actually. It's smart to have a little break between the, down here string theory and a little death. It's very different to a little death. It's very triumphant. It is very sweet sounding. There's also a plot twist to have the bass guitar this active. Cool, the guitar holds on to that outro section. These classical elements infused with jazz parts. A little bit of... gorgeous. Oh, harmonics at the end, those naturals, dude. Well done. That's how you do a solo instrumental track. Oh, not a solo instrumental track. I know there are other instruments, but you get what I mean. That's a very classy little interlude in between the third parts of this album. That's cool. We got Hamster Wheel for number 10 before I take a break. What do we got?
As soon as my head hits the pillow, the sun shines in my room.
Oh, that's too real, man. The The train. It's train. Things getting rolling.
I can shake the feeling that I've gotta break the cycle soon.
Oh, dude, I vibe with
Never
this.
seem to touch the ground. Life keeps going round and round. The things I see are never real.
Hamster wheel.
Running in my hamster wheel.
You got the phone sounds as well. Yep, I get you.
A tiny cog is what I've been in a big machine I've never seen. Will my disquiet ever heal? Trapped inside this hamster wheel.
It's kind of fun. There's a sense of it's not frustrated like I was expecting it to be. It's a fun song. It kind of pokes fun at the whimsy of the situation, how ridiculous it is that we all get so wound up on our cell phones and how we don't get a chance to sort of relax and stuff. The futuristic, man, because this is the future, dude.
Is this as good as it ever gets? Will I ever feel free? Prodigated, reset, reloaded. What about us and what about me? Settle down to my routine, running nowhere fast unseen to keep the world on an even keel. I must turn my hamster wheel.
Oh, that's such a shame. The guitar work in here is phenomenal, though. They're rolling with the guitar and the phone samples. Again, it's meant to create an atmosphere. It's meant to create an atmosphere, a lot like the synth sounds are referring to the future technology that's ironically making things less productive.
Sudden yes, but no shit on the floor. Completely down it, healed but free. Seems better than the hamster wheel.
Nice work with the head voice there, an upper range, but it sounds fantastic, dude. He's got good vocal technique. Those moments like that, you gotta appreciate it, right? Oh, he's in traffic jam now. Oh, cool. Oh, cool. I get what's happening here. See, he's even putting the sounds in rhythm with the rest of the instruments, dude. Like, that's top stuff, man.
Stuck in endless mundanity, about to lose my sanity. Striving, high-fiving, but no one's driving. What about us and what about me? I've been sleeping through my life and living in my sleep, drifting through my days and nights. Best not to think too deep.
Oh no, that little break there where he slows down. He's like, oh wait, I've been wasting my time. Don't want to think about it too much. I despise that, eh? I don't like the thought of having wasted my time doing all this frivolous garbage.
Work and bills, love and hate, booze and pills. What's to lose? What's really there? The big wheel spins, but goes nowhere.
Yeah, at the end of the day, where are we ending up by working ourselves down to a bone? And trying to self-medicate. What's it all for, man? Police? Flushing it all away. Damn, I got that straight away, dude. Oh, Hamster Wheel. That's the real one for me. That's the kicker, and I know I've said that like 5 times in this review, but that one got me a lot. I want to talk about just briefly before I go and get some food. I just briefly, I mean, like you know, with Hamster Wheel, I don't think there's a single person listening to that won't be able to relate to that, unless you're the kind of person who is either rich via side hustles or passive income where they don't have to do any work, in which case, you know, good for you, right? Well, you know, humans are fairly self-destructive, so I'm sure those people will find other ways to busy themselves unnecessarily. But yeah, a lot of people will be able to relate to that. And it's below 4 minutes, which is perfect for a single length. But just before I go and take a break, it's just the instrumental performances so far have been phenomenal. There's only been one point where I've been like, maybe that needed to be a little bit quieter. And I mentioned that at the time. But everything else so far has been pretty much flawless. There's unique identities to each of these 10 tracks. I can remember each of the songs individually, which is really important because usually I just lose track, especially if they sound too similar. You know what I mean? Especially in an album like this, you need each track to have its own identity. So well done to Greg Barnett so far. And just his voice, I'm so familiar with his voice now, even though I've only listened to him for a small while. I'm really looking forward to hearing more of what he has to say. I think that is the most important thing here, that after 10 tracks, after an hour of listening to him, I want to listen to another 2 hours. So we'll be back soon. See you then. Hey everybody, just back for round 2 of Greg Barnett's album, tracks 11 to 20. Getting into Fairytale. Let's go. Oh? That brass is kind of dope. Where are we going with this though?
Deep in the dark, where no one dares, her own secret kingdom underneath the stairs.
Where are we going with this?
Who seeks to enter, and from who knows where, she can't believe that she found him standing there.
Oh, okay. Is it that kind of fairy tale? All right. The dun, da, 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 dun, da, 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 dun. It's kind of like a dance kind of groove to it, doesn't it? Dun, da, 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 dun, da, 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 dun. What was it? That is 6/8, isn't it? One and no, it's still a triplet with 16ths.
It's true.
Oh, that dark turn there.
Friends beware. She is the ghost of the great queen of Equestria.
Oh, beautiful. It ended up turning out nicely. Yeah, Greg Barnett is very, very, very keen to have his music match the content to the lyrics very accurately, and you get a clean, clear cut of this in this track.
Just kiss her hand and make her your wife, and she'll vow to haunt you and lighten up your life. Go on.
This is almost academic in the way that it's been prescribed. It's this is the mark of someone who's studied music, or at least has an incredibly intimate understanding of it. Someone who's spent a lot of time learning the tricks in regards to composition and songwriting. Just to get these chords and melodies and different bits to work together so well.
He dared the dark.
And strings coming in so sweetly there.
Under the stairs in a forbidding castle keep, a solitary queen slumbering deep, a beauty so rare that it made his poor heart weep. It's true.
I'm just gonna check something real quick. You know those moments where you realize that you've done like 7 music reviews in the space of a day, and you almost have an accident because you think, wait, did I just delete the session files for an entire album recording without rendering a specific part of it? Because I'm splitting those ones into different episodes. And then you feel that sigh of relief when you realize, no, you're not losing your mind. You actually did render that. It's fine. That would have been distinctly the opposite of a fairy tale.
My new friend so fair, he wants to join her as the king of Equestria.
This would work great for kids' books. The music is fairly magical, isn't it? There's a lot of warmth and love to it.
So take this kiss from him.
There's an innocence to it.
Understand from his day,
Very different to some of the other material on this album so far.
Want him forever and a day. Please stay.
This album is something special that's just... It's like Greg looked into every single aspect of every single song and was like, does that need to be there? He was asking himself constantly, can we improve this?
But that was then. And we get to know that all of our dreams are seldom left to grow. So your kingdom fell as the years fell away. Who would have ever...
That's a kind of groovy thing going on with the drums there. Dun, 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 dun. The drums have picked up a little bit really subtly, haven't they?
That you would part one day. It's true.
It's a stunning percussive performance,
My old
actually.
friends, take care. You have long forsaken your young dreams of equestrian.
And like that snare tone is really nice and thick. And it's very punchy in the mix. I like that.
Futures are calling, and so you turn away. But sweet
Those strings are adorable, dude.
memories will haunt you forever and a day. They may.
Finishing with They May. Beautiful way to just kind of... Yeah, it kind of reminds me of some nursery rhymes, some fairy tales that I heard as a kid. Very fresh sounding tone to those synths. Very alluring instrumentation. Having this additional instrumental layer at the end here fills in the gap where the vocals were before. That fairy tale of the two that were the king and queen of Equestria. I'll let this play out and then I want to have another listen through the last chorus a little bit. I feel like I missed some important stuff. And it's like the horns of the people announcing the king and queen of the land, right? That's fun. That's really fun.
Are calling, and so you turn away. So my old friends, take care.
It gets a bit darker though, doesn't it?
Have long forsaken your young dreams of equestrian. Your futures are calling, and so you turn away. But sweet memories will haunt you forever and a day.
Now this is very different. I'm glad I took another listen to it because I feel like I missed some stuff. There's a hesitance to accept that destiny, to be a part of that alternate reality because the person just wants to be stuck inside their own head, right?
They may. They may.
Is this like the loss of innocence when people grow up and they stop imagining like a beautiful, a beautiful time as an adult where they become a king or a queen and they grow up and they just are happy? Is this song about the loss of innocence there? It would make sense if that was the case. I think that'd be, given some of the other material on this album, I would say it would make a lot of sense for that to be the case. And it's kind of bittersweet, isn't it? It's kind of bittersweet because that's the beauty of the music, is the music. Like, it's not like there's a complete disconnection between the lyrical content and the music there. But you can tell, Greg is being very clever about it. Losing My Grip, number 12.
I'm a fish caught on a hook.
Okay. Again, different to Fairytale for
A
sure.
role in someone else's book. Swimming blindly up a stream. In someone else's dream, it seems. Where did my free will go? I suppose I'll...
Okay, you got the drums, you know, the arpeggiated guitar chords, and he's talking about how he's losing his own agency over his life. He's realized that some things appear to be predetermined, and he's wondering how it got that way.
all the possibilities for me. When a glimmer comes in sight, it's overtaken by the night, and
I know I keep interrupting to talk about this, and I know it's probably getting stale by now, but these are not normal chord progressions that you get in like contemporary music nowadays. Across a wide variety of genres, you don't get this kind of range to the songwriting, and it sucks.
lose my grip on reality.
Oh, the strings add a little bit of depth and the power to the mix.
A car I can't control. Stuck in this flesh without a soul.
Damn, dude, that's deep.
Voices in my head telling me my hopes are dead and gone.
Oh, yeah, that's deep. Yeah, that could be a number of things, you know, that could be sort of a paranoia of losing your control, you know, that can be depression telling you you're powerless. Yeah, this could be several things, man.
I'm not able to explain. Thoughts that flicker in my brain. So I pretend I'm really not alone. But the warmth soon disappears. I surrender as my fears undo my grip and chill me to the bone.
Bum, 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 bum. What is that kind of chord? I don't know what kind of chord that is. Bum, bum. Oh, that's like a C minor 6, C sharp minor 6 flat 5 or something like that, isn't it?
Floats in front of me, but I can't recall their true identity. The rhythm of a voice soothes me while digging through my mind. It draws me way back through time and place to all those buried things that I don't want to face. So many troubling things that I'd rather have left behind.
I don't quite like how that's traveling around the headphones like that. I know what it's trying to sort of allude to, and I don't quite like it. It's not making me comfortable as a listener, but that's important. My job as a listener isn't to feel comfortable. It's not the listener's responsibility to make me feel comfortable. That's not the point of music. Music is supposed to make you feel things. That's the power of this music and why it's so good, is because ultimately, like, I felt so many different things from so many of these different songs. Greg is a master at manipulating the listener's emotions in a way that matches the needs of the music and the lyrics. And that's fine, because that's what you're getting into when you know, that's the point. Okay.
Lights burn bright, there's danger in the air.
Like, this is why I'm so glad I had a second take at Fairytale, because I do think it's about the loss of innocence and people giving up on their hopes and dreams. I'm really hoping that if Greg is watching this, he didn't lose hope in me just assuming... Dude, I swear, man, honestly, half of that was me freaking out about losing that footage. That's why I went back to listen to it. I'm sorry if you got the wrong idea there.
The needle punctures skin. Will the answers deep within begin?
Oh, that's a pretty ominous little brop, brop, brop kind of synthy bass going on there. Kind of like a worm going into your brain, right?
Understanding all the pain lifts me to another plane. The truth arrives and opens up my mind. I see the dark despair in all the people everywhere who grip on things that are better left behind.
Yeah, that bum bum with the strings coming in to emphasize that last bit about the depression and the shared mutual self-flagellation that goes on by people simply not being able to believe in themselves or anything else.
Heaven help me when at last they find that seething black hole locked beneath my mind. I suppressed it long ago when I was just a child.
This is not what I expected to hear on the Flat White album. Wow.
Before it, I was shining bright, but then I was plunged into the night. Crouched.
I know there's like I know what that's potentially playing off, the Flat White album. I know what that's potentially playing off, by the way, just
In a corner from my fears that were running wild.
I think it's clever, considering like how Australian Flat Whites are. You know, like Greg Barnett has obviously got a sense of humor, but then you listen to stuff like this and it's so horrific and atrocious. It so seemingly accurately describes the inner turmoil that he's going through, and you don't know who he is anymore, but then you do know who he is because of all these different angles he's providing to you. This is a super huge, articulate, and mature look at who Greg Barnett as a person is, and I think that that's a really special thing, for there to be a no bullshit take on his humanity and his person, and that's great. Human Stain.
Escaping original sin. It burns you and eats you from outside and in. We came down from the trees and we stood on the plain. Beauty and harmony and our human stain.
Oh, going back to the C-bomb, are we? I see you. That ye olden times. Oh, this is gonna be right, isn't it?
Was ambling along, whistling a tune and then humming a song. When he spied his beloved, all thoughts were eclipsed. As he entered the forest, a smile on his lips. He ran silent behind her to startle his bride. She spun around quick, stuck a blade in his side.
Good. That's exactly how it's supposed to be, thank you.
He stared at the crimson that poured through his hands. Why is this so when there's peace in the land? He cried, I am dying unless you can find some magic to fix my body and mind. Her wide startled eyes were narrowing fast. How to shrug off this burden and wipe clean the past.
Oh,
I don't know what.
Was he genuinely innocent and had no idea what was going on?
I had demons inside. My guilt must be hidden. No one know how you died. My instinct was wrong. It was twisted and black. But now that it's done, there is no turning back. There's no escaping original sin.
Wow, okay, we're going real deep on this one. We had Losing My Grip, and we are doubling down on the intensity as thematic matter, you know, like, I'm all for it, man. Human Stain. I get it. I got it immediately. You know, talking about how there's nature and how human beings have kind of messed things up.
Burns you and eats you from outside and in. We came down from the trees and we stood on the plain. Beauty and harmony and our human stain.
And the da 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 da, that melody there, the cuteness, the innocence of that, it really does balance out the severity of the material, doesn't it? Provide some semblance of an equilibrium.
He said I had planned to give you my world.
It's the most metal stuff I've heard in a while, dude.
My pretty girl, but your soul is so black, no thought could be worse. So I leave you and yours with an eternal curse.
Oh, right, great,
She buried
cool.
the body where no one would see, and the blood washed away down to the sea. But the stain had gone deeper than she could have guessed. It spread from the woods to the east and the west.
So she couldn't get rid of it by killing it.
They searched high and low, what deed had been done. No one could say where the young man had gone. Many had seen him go off in good cheer. What ill had befallen, what was there to fear?
Getting stabbed in the waist by someone when you try and wife them without their permission, my dude. It's
Turn on town and then friend turn on friend. Mistrust and hate without any end.
oh my goodness.
Each for himself till we all went insane. The world was undone by the great human stain. There's no escape.
Whoo, Greg. Oh, Greg, you're doing this, man. You're doing this. This is a ride, dude. This is a bit of a ride. I'm gonna tell you what, man. Like, this has gotten me a little bit. I get it. It makes a lot of sense to me, and I even agree with it, to be honest. Like, people just lose their stuff over this kind of thing, you know, like, and just relationships break down, and that's the vulnerability, the fragility of the human condition, man. We are just scared animals underneath the ego, man. We're scared animals.
It burns you and eats you from outside and in. We came down from the trees and we stood on the plain. Beauty and harmony, and our human stain.
And there's no more drums.
The towns and the cities were.
I've just been kind of enjoying, I haven't really commented on what the guitar has been doing and what the bass has been doing. Sorry, I feel bad about that. I've just been enjoying the story that's been told. Is it bad though? Because then, am I really reviewing a song if I don't talk about its various elements? I just feel like a lot, like it's nice to have these chords going up the guitar in this part, you know, those higher pitched ones, to make the most of the range above the vocalist's, you know, comfortable chest voice.
For the sad naked.
I mean, like, I suppose I've already pointed out, just... It's brutal, dude.
When someone smiles and they offer their hand, do you know what lies behind their eyes? 'Cause for millions of years we have lived tooth and claw. How can we ever be civilized? So there's no surprise. At all, none at all, no, none at all.
It's ascending.
Is there no shame?
Going to that minor tonality there.
The dark human stain, will it always remain? Deep within us all.
Oh, resolving to the major, are we? Wow, that was a ride. I was not expecting that, but I suppose... Can we listen to that last bit without me talking? Just for a moment, I want to catch that again.
Human stain, will it always remain?
Okay, I understand it now. I suppose the major tonality at the end with that chord and the various instrument and overall harmony could suggest that there is hope that we will improve in the future, but I don't know, man. It's pretty tricky. The rest of the song did not spell a happy story and a happy future for us. It's I get it. There is a cynicism that music is deceptive. There's an innate cynicism towards human beings here. Maybe I hope for the future if we can learn to figure out what the other person... Like, I think part of it is just thinking constructively. I think half the time if we just think about what we... I don't want to get into that. But no, I'll finish it. We're already 1.5 hours into a music review anyways. I might as well get philosophical about it. I know the kind of person that Greg's talking about. They're the people that smile to your face and actually want to stab you in the back. And with those people, the best you can do is simply just try and figure out, just ask them what they want, right? But then people will just try and gaslight you, and you shouldn't have to worry about that stuff. But again, that's the human stain. It's people thinking they're more important and more entitled than they really are. It's people thinking that life is just one game when in fact there's actual consequences to doing stupid stuff. But this isn't my soapbox. This is human stain. And Greg Barnett communicated himself a lot more adeptly than I did. Yeah, I don't even know we'd begin writing music like this. There's just a huge amount of creativity that is just not there with a lot of music that comes out nowadays. It's just not. Guitar Suite, number 14. Is a big one. It's 8 minutes. Pro tip for anyone watching. Usually I would consider this 2 tracks instead of 1 for the reviews, but I wasn't aware of this at the time. So it's technically, yeah. This orchestral setup's kind of nice. It's like refreshing. It's neat and it's almost obligatory after how dark Human Stain got, right? We got some deep drums. Okay, this is cool. That's a hell of a bass resonance with those hits, isn't it? Okay, we're getting into some fairly interesting and fairly adept guitar work here. This is Greg Barnett flexing his skills a little bit, and I have all the time for it, especially when you've got the guitar as the focal point. The guitar, of course, being the main thing that's driving this album along. I think it's required that you need to show that you've got some chops. And these hammers, it's a good start. Okay, we've got a gong. Alright, fun. That's section A, I suppose. Ah, and going back to that slower theme that we played earlier on. I like how he's got a rubato feel to this. Oh? Okay. We had the tail, section B. Smart move. I wonder what he's using for those strings. Again, there's a playfulness to this particular bit. Oh, it's ascending? Where are we going? Oh. Beautiful cloudy. Oh, hang on a minute. So this might be a feature of our reviews where no. We have the nanoleaf panels that's decided to turn off, which is there's lots of fun. I wonder what else is going to be inserted into later on. There's intermittent bits of tension created by the chromaticisms between the different instruments, and then we make it charming again. He likes his triplet flow, doesn't he? So bright and very pretty. Modulation of that melodic sequence. Nice guitar harmonies. Okay, again, section C or section D? Are we going? Where are we going with this? Oh, okay. Oh, up. Okay, I could semi-repeat this, predict this. Oh, chorus? Oh, we got a choir going on in there. I like that. It was interesting to have the choir there for that bit. Greg must have just wanted that particular texture there to the overall sound. Quite adept finger picking, actually. This crab hammer or claw hammer style. Ooh. Very deliberate sounding string playing here. Oh, we got some Christmas bells now. What is that instrument? What are these different ingredients here? This sounds like a fantasy movie, like a It's been a hell of a journey so far, hasn't it? Through just Guitar Suite alone. That is not an easy thing to play on the guitar. How do you decide to just do this here? It's complete. It's like it's not totally separate from what we had before. But how do you decide to do that? There must have been like a plot that he was working with internally to structure this. I know this refers back to previous themes that were mentioned in the song. I guess it's just how Greg is rolling, right? Guitar suite. And finishing on those natural harmonics. Hey, we even got the applause there. That's a ballsy move, but he's earned it. He's earned it. That's great. That's good fun. It's nice to have the guitar treated in that respect. You can do a lot with an acoustic guitar, even a steel string, you know? But I'm still glad that he did put in additional elements so that it wasn't just guitars, as I think that having just the guitar and drums like in the guitar suite, not to confuse things, track number 9, having that more sort of classical vibe with this was a good one. Helps to contrast the two and made the 8 minutes nice and interesting throughout. Especially because you need like a few different sections like A, B, C, D, E, etc. if you're working for more of a symphony kind of effect. Track 15, The Web.
I guess it's all up to me. A knock at my door.
Okay, where are we going?
A ring on my phone.
Huh?
Who was it for? Or was it for me alone?
Okay, we got a much... Again, it's very different to Guitar Suite.
Turned around. She held me tight. She said, calm down, clown. You'll never fight me tonight. Hand in hand into the promised land. Must take care. This could be sinking sand.
This could be sinking sand. So when someone trapped him in a relationship and he feels like he's going to drown underneath this sinking sand. Is this traps? Is this shenanigans? I'm liking again, the drum recording's phenomenal. You know, whoever was responsible for mixing and mastering the drums and recording them and playing them, stellar effort. Like, I love how the guitar sounds, but that snare sound especially, beautiful.
She leaned over me. Her lips were glistening red.
Okay.
Instead of keeping her, she kept me instead.
Oh, I get it. So this is one of those relationships where the person kind of like makes you feel like you're powerless, right?
Stuck inside her web, wrapped in her cocoon. She gives me what I need, can't see me getting away too soon.
Oh, so it's... What is the situation?
In hand, into the promised land. Must take care. This could be sinking sand.
It's like he's crying out, but he doesn't really want it. Like, I don't know how to feel about this track. Like, I enjoy it. I think it's straight to the point. It's really smart to have this one 3:21. It's more of a... I don't think you could have spent 8.5 minutes talking about this particular theme. Although I'm sure that Greg Barnett would have figured out a way to make that work. Okay, we're letting the listener contemplate what this could be about. Got that organ going there for a different tone, a different color.
She whispers in my ear. She knows all those little things, the things that I want to hear.
Oh, that sounds creepy. So this person's like one of those people who kind of manipulate you into doing what you want.
Can't move my arms. Can't shake my head. I'll give up everything to stay lying here in her bed.
Oh, that's too real, man. Actually, that's too real. I think there's a lot of people who are going to uncomfortably be able to relate to this.
In hand, into the promised land. Must take care. She tells me there's gonna be sinking sand. Is this heaven or purgatory? Will she ever set me free?
No, just get out, but you gotta get out of there, dude.
I guess it's all up to me. Why do I want her so badly?
The eternal question, man.
I guess it's all up to me.
Dude, phenomenal drum performance as well, but also just in general, the story that was told, it was really well done because it didn't just say, "Oh, I don't like this, but I can't leave." It was more intricate and mature with the way it described the situation. Some people, it's just they make you feel comfortable in that purgatory, and they're like parasitic, and you just think, oh, and you just get withered down by it, man. Anyone in an abusive relationship will be able to relate to this. The thing is, Greg is very astute at delivering music concepts in a way that isn't really confronting musically. But when you consider the lyrics, they're actually incredibly horrific, and I have to say that that's incredibly impressive. Well done to Greg Barnett for being able to do that. Like if you remove the lyrics with that, it doesn't sound as dark as the lyrics. It gets catchy, it gets stuck in your head, sure. But there's replay value there. And like you know, when you had the call and response, the two sides of the coin, the person wondering if they really can leave in that last chorus, it was a scary thing to listen to, dude. You know, there was a groove to that music in the web, but the lyrics were incredibly just full on. Looking for Love, number 16. Again, guitar led. With drums.
Looking for love, loving someone, looking for someone to love. Circling round, knowing love can be found. You need luck on your side, because love is so blind. Love is pleasure, but love can be pain.
I like how the harmony suddenly becomes more complex when he talks about the difficulties of love being not all sunshine and daffodils. That's a smart move.
You want to feel it again. That pleasure and pain always drives you insane. So why are you looking for love again?
Oh, so this relationship's about someone who, like, despite getting hurt over and over, just maybe they're not ready to be in a healthy, happy relationship. They just continue to stare for it anyways.
Always looking for love. The sun can rise and fill your eyes, and hope springs eternal each day.
I'm liking how we're talking about the sun and hoping eternal, and that organ comes in as a happy little positive bit of color to the mix and the higher edge.
Make my love yours and I'll make yours mine, but heartbreak's just one kiss away.
Is that a double bass?
Sighing sounds of two people in love.
It's like a cello or a double bass? I think it's a double bass, isn't it?
Soft words like the cooing of birds, with your bodies entwined. Losing love seems absurd. Passion and pain, When voices are raised, the old hurts bring darkening days, and doubts grow stronger, the silence is longer, so soon you'll be looking for love again.
Oh,
Always looking
too real,
for
man.
love. But clouds have gone, and from now on, our hearts are in tune every day. My love is yours, and yours is mine. But is this love here to stay?
Okay, so it's talking about how fragile love is and how things can, you can be in a honeymoon period when you get together and the clouds are gone and there's sunshine. Wow, it's pretty savage stuff, dude. You know, like that blah, 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 with the clouds going away does sound really bright, like a celebratory thing, like you've just won a game or something like that.
We know it's the only way not to be lonely, so we're always looking for love.
Yeah, that sad acceptance that like we're probably not going to change anytime soon, you know? This is just us as human beings, that human stain. We get together and we make mistakes and we hurt each other and or we don't care and then someone gets hurt regardless and yeah, there's no way of avoiding it, man. That's the inherent failure of the human condition. We just misses. Track 17 remote. Animal sounds. Showdown, what's occurring? Oh, flamenco guitar? Oh no, we just got those cowboy groups, right? Kind of at first I was wondering if it was like referring to people dueling over the TV remote to decide who can put the show on next. But then it's pretty romantic out in the cowboy wastelands, eh? Where are we going with this? I've enjoyed the guitar work. I've enjoyed the engine sounds. We got the Eagles. Distorted guitars. I have endless questions about that guitar tone. It's a fun little melody though, eh? It riffs on that rhythm section. The acoustic theme now is instantiated at the start. Kind of reminds me of the Street Fighter guitar songs from back in the 90s. Oh, stunning. That was a really nice finish with the rattlesnakes and stuff like that. I'm not sure what that song was about, so I'm going to assume it was about people dueling over a TV remote. Although it does sound like remote as in nature-wise, so like you're stuck in nature and dealing with the different people that are different animals around you, or maybe some outlaws or something. That's the fun of an instrumental track. You don't actually know what you're going to come across. You know, it can be subjective. Take My Advice featuring James Barnett, who I can only assume is a relative. Where are we going with this?
New days dawning now, distant cold. Shiny tips to the grass, a new story told.
So is this James singing at the moment? He has got a different vocal timbre, but he's carrying himself well. This is good.
Cold wind wakes tired eyes to see this view.
Very bright sounding, sort of clean electroacoustic chords.
I told you it's worth the price, but you always knew. You take my advice, feeling something nice.
Feeling something nice.
Long way, my friend.
It's a long way, my friend. I like the authenticity of this vocal performance. It sounds like he's really caring about what he's saying. That bass is nice and thick in the mix, I dig that. Following the guitar.
Sun's day out is now closing in.
Nice repeating that vocal melody, a little bit of vocal sizzle there.
Blue turns red in face. Where have you been? Fingers as cold as ice. How is this?
Fingers as cold as ice, how is this? Where are we going with this?
Warm your mind with nothing but this gentle kiss.
Oh.
You take my advice.
Those strings are a nice touch, I think, in the grand scheme of things. Very simple vocal melody, but it works within this chorus.
Goes a long way, my friend.
That's very wholesome, isn't it?
It goes a long way, my friend.
It's a huge sounding mix because of the way things are panned. You've got the guitar, strings, bass, drums. Because of everything's placed in the stereo field, it sounds huge. And that was that. That was Take My Advice. I want to go back a little bit and listen through that first verse.
Tired eyes, dawning now.
Okay, let's listen to this one more time.
New days dawning now, distant cold.
New Day's Dawning.
Shiny tips to the grass, a new story told. Cold wind wakes tired eyes to see this view. I told you it's worth the price, but always you.
I'm not sure what this is. I'm not sure what this is about. Take my advice. Is this about someone appreciating what someone else does for them? Or I don't know, man. I had to listen to that second verse again. One more time. I don't know what this song is about. I want to take it literally, but then I've learned from Greg Barnett not to take things literally, that there's more depth to it than that. I'm also trying to figure out where I can put this album for the next 2 tracks. Oh, we've got the big boys. Well, where can I put this? Here. I know my face is probably around here. No, I can't. I'm trying to put it so that you can see the tracks here. That's the best I can do. Hopefully you can still see the album art here. I don't know what to make of this one. I love the instrumentation of it. It's more conservative than a lot of the stuff that I've heard from Greg Barnett so far. But there's a charming tonality to the voice. The guy's got a really natural vibrato to it, comfortable within his vocal range. And it sounds unnatural on the mic. And I think it was great for Greg to just stand back and let James Barnett just handle that. It was cool. Very different experience to what I'm used to from Greg Barnett so far, but that's fine. It's good to have change. And yeah, all the elements sound nicely mixed together. And even though I couldn't quite figure out what the song was about, that's okay. I kind of got the rough idea that there was sort of an appreciation for what the person's been able to do with them and letting them know that just listening to someone can mean the world to them, not taking them for granted. I've got track 19, Promise. Getting kind of bright at this end with the guitar chords. And the drums are kicking in.
Feel I'm caught in a riptide.
Okay.
Swimming fast as I can. Lost all sense of direction. And drifting further from land that's sinking. Are you thinking there's a chance we might drown if no one backs down? I feel I'm
Okay. All right, I see you. I see you there. I see you there, Greg. That was a very, very quick transition back to that, isn't it?
twister.
Verse 2, no mucking around. Bum, bum, bum. Very sort of almost an evil sounding chord progression there.
Resist her. I feel my feet leave the ground that's shaking. Are we breaking all that we had? And it wasn't all bad. Looking for the promise of love all through my life. And just when you think it'll all be alright, a house of cards, the cracks appear, a tug of war.
Cool. Good work having those radio filters on either side to really sort of illustrate just how things are just going to get completely messed up.
Madness spreads to take us away.
Oh, these very dramatic strings come in. They can't have that love, it's got to get messed up. Screwed up, man. That's why you can't have nice things. Guitar solo? Okay. It's fun to hear him work around the chord progression he's got. Making a very chilled out guitar melody. Like there's tension to it, don't get me wrong, but he's not. It's not like he's not doing some, you know. It's not an 80s shred solo or anything like that. And I think that's probably a good thing. That wouldn't really fit
The
this.
odds are much shorter that we're gonna survive. The heat's getting hotter and burning the lives we wanted, took for granted. So what
So is this song promise about them just believing that things would work out and then things turned out to be a lie, or was deception all along, or even though they tried their best to keep the promise, it just could not, wasn't possible?
Looking for the promise of love all through my life. And just when you think it'll all be alright, the reaper stalks. When lies begin, the fire spreads, and floods appear to take us away.
Oh, so the forces of nature are trying to conspire against you to ruin the best efforts you have. Oh, I get it. There's a sadness and a mysticism to this. An almost supernatural element to this. All right. Promise. The madness comes to promise. Just before we get into Agincourt, which is 11 minutes. My goodness, that's an EP within itself. By the way, I know I've been yawning. It's not because I'm bored. It's not even really because I'm tired. I mean, I've done six music reviews today. It's a Sunday. We've got a lockdown in New Zealand, so I'm not going anywhere. So I figured we'll just get this all done today. And I've still got another 4 of them to do tomorrow over the next couple of days. But 4 over 2 days is a lot less than 6 in 1, so that's fine. But just with promise, it just perfectly illustrates how vital it is to recognize that no matter what you do, it's sometimes just not enough. I think this is a nice sort of check to some of the material in here that's been mentioned where, it's the person's fault, or it's the other person's fault that you didn't get together, or someone's being manipulative, or someone's just being coy about it. You know what I mean? Sometimes no matter how pure you are about it, it's just not enough, and that's just a fact of life, and that's the bittersweet tooth to it. And we just got to try and live with that. And the music sounded like it was trying to accept that. And the vocalist also sounded like he accepted that was just the case. And I think that's a very good song to add to a lot of the emotionally very, very strong tracks in here, to have something that kind of creases everything out and balances it. Agincourt.
For nigh 100 years, we English had been at war with France. We simple farmers are indentured by the local noble to go to war for the king in his pursuit of power, influence, land and money. 6 pennies a day during any war is a rare fortune in exchange for my trusty longbow and otherwise worthless life. So the king's coin is a godsend when our very existence is held sway by starvation, injury and pestilence. So it was in this year of our Lord, 1415, that our great King Henry V rode through our village, trailed by his dukes, earls, barons and knights, and his army of longbowmen and men-at-arms in horseback cavalcade.
Am I learning stuff? Is this educational? Because if it is, I am all for that. Thank you very much, Greg Barnett. I'm glad. I understand why this is the length it is now. Cool. Not that Greg needed to justify it necessarily. He's a very, very skilled and talented musician, as shown by the previous 19 tracks, but still. I like the pompous nature to the music. I have a feeling things are going to get very dark.
I joined this army's ranks on its march to the southern port of Southampton, from which the king intended sail to quell a troublesome France. At port, the 12,000 men, 20,000 horses, 700 sailing vessels with thousands of crew, plus food and water for all, made for a hellish chaos beyond imagining. With no others from my village, I ended up aboard a small Coast Guard vessel in the company of strangers, several horses, and tons of provisions. The fevered excitement slowly subdued as all present realized the dangers ahead, and we communed in silence with God for the success of the king's campaign
and for our own safety.
I'm seeing parallels between this and the last post. I wonder if that's a thing that was kept in mind by Greg Barnett. It sounds like you're in a boat, dude.
Whether due to rum, incompetence, or divine intervention, our small ship became separated from the invasion armada, and currents took us west into a maelstrom, and we found ourselves swept towards a jagged, rocky coastline that was hell-bent on destroying us.
Ooh.
We foundered on the rocks, and my last memory as I was flung into the broiling sea was the desperate cries of my fellows, the screams of the horses, and the tortured rending of the wooden hull. All was lost. I came to on a darkened beach with the wild sea breaking around me. Lightning revealed the debris of ship and cargo and broken bodies of men and horses alike. I dragged myself through the foaming surf and up the beach through torrents of rain to the long grass where the land took hold. Approaching from the distance, I could see lanterns held high and the sound of horses and hounds. We were discovered. I ran as if the devil himself was at my heels.
I'm assuming he survived if he was able to tell the tale, right? What a hell of a story, man. Those poor horses, dude. This is such a tremendous amount of effort to put into an album. Not only has Greg Barnett put 30 songs onto an album, he has also put this amount of effort into this audio experience. It's so easy to imagine that you're a part of it. Dude, it's so phenomenal. I am so blown away by this. This is so next level. Gosh, I miss this in music.
I awoke exhausted in the early hours. My pursuers had either given up or missed my prone, waterlogged body. The rain had mercifully stopped, and I realized my predicament. I was on enemy land with no companions, no weapons, and no food or water. With the still raging sea behind me, I could see no landmarks or sign of humanity. The wind-blown dunes and marshlands stretched to infinity. My God had truly forsaken me. I harnessed my meager energy and headed east in the hope of finding my compatriots. I walked, stumbled, and crawled for a day and a night. I know not when I lost consciousness, but I awoke to a welcome warmth stealing over my cold, limp body. At last, thank God, the sunshine. And was this delirium? Or in truth, was that really human voices nearby in quiet conversation?
What's going to
I must have
happen
passed
next?
out yet again, but I awoke to delicious fresh water at my lips. I drank like a man possessed. My eyes slowly found focus on the group of peasants gathered around me. They showed me no harm, and one held out a lump of bread and an apple. I displayed my thanks and devoured the food, much to their amusement and pleasure. We tried to converse, but neither side understood the other. They beckoned me, and, much invigorated, I followed them back to their hamlet. Their farming tools were much the same as the ones I used at home, so, through mime and much hilarity, we struck a deal that I would work in their fields for my board and lodging.
I love this. This is so cool to listen to, dude. I'm assuming that there is a story. This has been written down, and Greg is reading it, and he's put the Foley along with it to help you understand it better. Oh, it's stunning, dude. Wow.
Autumn was soon coming to an end, I was healthy and hardened, a valued worker in the fields, and drawing looks from girls and women seeking a good husband. I was learning their language and picked up news that King Henry's expeditionary force had lost half its number to death, injury, and disease. The remainder were exhausted, dispirited, and desperate to reach Calais before defeat by French nobles amassing in ever-increasing numbers. Although enjoying my respite in the countryside and with no stomach for war, I still had a duty to help my king and countrymen. In sombre mood, I bade farewell to my saviours and newfound friends, packed a few provisions, and again headed east to see what...
Why would you do that? That makes me so angry. You literally have a life there. I don't get it, man.
Could do.
That's the human stain right there. Why? What are you gonna do against...
Happening upon the small village of Agincourt, on the horizon I could see lines of French pennants in their thousands, vastly outnumbering those of our own depleted force, and heard the faint waft of battle horns and bugles. I was one day's march from the battleground, and the taking part in the killing of people who were neither friend nor foe to me, or in return being injured, killed, or taken prisoner by them. Today was October 25th, my birthday, and also the feast of St. Crispin, to whom I sent a prayer for my soul and that of my compatriots, and
Why
indeed
would you do
all that
this?
joined in battle. Every few heartbeats I saw the sky turn dark, as if a mighty flock of starlings were wheeling above the battlefield, to suddenly realize they were instead deadly fusillades of 1,000 arrows at a time. My heart sank at the imagined carnage, but I made my peace with God and committed to set off and join whatever remnants remained. At worst, I would give succor to the wounded and dying before suffering their same fate.
I suppose their loyalty is just so important to him.
As I eventually neared the battlefield, the very earth on which I stood trembled with the approach of several thousand hooves from over the next rise. Expecting to be slaughtered by the oncoming victorious French, I resigned myself to my inevitable fate, knelt, bowed my head in prayer, closed my eyes, and waited for the cold kiss of steel on my neck.
No. How could he write this otherwise?
But it was King Henry and his retinue, exhausted but triumphant.
What? Why?
I recognized a few faces amongst the rank and file.
Why?
And they beckoned me to join them on spare horses, and we returned all conquering to English shores.
Okay. Why would you return? You're sorted, man.
Once landed, and as the column headed north, soldiers peeled away to rejoin their families, as I did to my own village. Being the only person to have gone and returned, I was feted as a victorious hero, and a banquet was held in my honor. I refused all entreaties to describe my journey, adventures, and tales of battle, for fear I would become a laughing stock. Folk mistook my reticence for the shock of war, heroism, and humility, raising my status even further in their eyes. And so, by sheer luck and good fortune, I had survived.
Splendid. That was a masterpiece. Thank you.
My simple life continues, awaiting the king's pleasure to wage war yet again.
Did he learn anything? Is this the point? Is the point to be angry at this guy? Because he learnt nothing from it. Why would he do that? Why would that be a thing that occurred? Why would... Greg, can you help me? Why did he do that? I get how it relates to the album. A lot of the themes of the album with like the human condition and how we are just really incredibly frustrating creatures. Oh, I don't know, man. That unfailing loyalty to a king that uses us as pawns, right? I see the point. It's been made well. We're back for the last 10 tracks in a moment. See you soon. All right. Day 3. Day 3 of these reviews. Or rather, listening session 3. This isn't the third day I've been doing it. Yeah. Wake now. New day. We've got 10 tracks to go. We've got no long ones, which is a shame because I really liked Agincourt. That was a really cool tale, but I'm sure these tracks will be really good as well. So, starting with 6 Degrees North, let's go. An aeroplane, right? I miss aeroplanes. I miss flying on flights. Again, the power of Greg Barnett's recordings within this album is not just that he's playing music, but he's also bringing you into his world via all these different samples like this, right? Hey, hand drums. Where are we at the moment? I'm tempted to make a stereotype, but I don't want to. I want to wait it out. Are we driving to the ocean or something like that? Guitar and strings, alright. I'm back in familiar territory now. Ah, is this another instrumental, is it? Very pleasant and almost nostalgic sounding with that main melody there with the rhythm guitars. Oh, a little bit of tension there. Bam, bam, bam. Got a bit of chromaticism going on there, Greg. Wouldn't be unusual. Now that harmony, that was potentially divisive. It was an interesting choice there, but I kind of dig it. I like the risks we're taking. Those notes didn't necessarily go in the same key or the same scale, but the tonality kind of was fun to have there. Again, I wouldn't have predicted that that ending to that tale. And then you have that harmony there. It's interesting how we've got the drum cymbals panned. I'm not used to having the ride cymbal on the right. It kind of seems like we're facing a live drummer where they would have the ride cymbal on their right. Oh, sorry, left. Man, I don't even know my directions this morning. It's all good. It's all good. Bro, that was fun. It sounds very fresh, doesn't it? Is this the anticipation? The joy of adventure? There's a very fresh sounding synth harmony there. Yeah, I quite like this one. Primarily it makes me want to go escape and go places, which I can't. Because New Zealand's in lockdown at the moment, baby. New Zealand's in lockdown. So I'm stuck at home. Which is probably lucky, because I have so many of these music reviews today, and that's not me flexing, that's just... Oh my goodness, last 2 days. Yeah, again, I just love the waves there. It helps you to... Just that stuff helps you to understand the story the music's telling without needing to be led by the vocals. Oy Vey Maria. Oy Vey. I dig that.
Maria, place my head on your shoulder. My children gone wild. Now they are older. Where are the meek to inherit the earth? Is all that I've done of so little worth?
Oh shit, man. Questioning your own... That's an existential crisis right there.
And that approaches was not mine to make. I said if it's there, okay. Then it's there for the taking.
That's a really pretty little chime on top of that. This guy's a phenomenal songwriter. I know I've said this a lot of different times, but these chord choices are just so out of the box, so out there, man. It's so cool that you can tell he's played a wide variety of different musical genres, and he's taken influences from all these different bits and kind of making them his own.
Help me, Maria.
It's the mark of a real craftsman.
I'm meant to be perfect, something divine. And so I gave them a garden of Eden. But look at it now, it's broken and bleeding.
I was just going more towards the Mother Nature and human stain kind of thing.
They live for the present with no thought for tomorrow.
That extra bar was meaningful there. It was nice to change up the flow of it.
Oh, my Maria, what on earth can be done?
I'm liking these backing vocals here, or at least the fact that they're double tracked. And I've got to admit, like that little drum fill there, that dun dun dun, that's enough to differentiate between verses and choruses. You don't need to really exaggerate it.
To make them less selfish, and all I just want, with more mouths to feed, what the hell will they do?
That's a good question.
Destroying their world, who they think they can fool, carelessly living, they think it's for free. If I made them this stupid, should I just let it be, Marie?
I think the main theme of this album so far for me has just been the fragility, the fallibility of us as animals, as human beings. And I agree with a lot of the points that Greg's made about the way that we treat things, like in Agincourt and the Sea Bomb. You know, Bubble Boy, and you can learn from this album as well.
Hey Maria, I know not what to do.
And we're slowing down now. It's just, we've got a church chorus kind of vibe going on here with these strings, which matches the situation described in the lyrics. I like how this is playing a similar melody to what Greg was doing in the verses. It's just filling in that gap where the vocals aren't anymore, and continues to ask questions and ponder their own existence, plus the, I think if I caught it correctly, he was talking about like, what have I done, as in like, is it like, is that the person who made humans kind of wondering if they made the mistake there of bringing them into the world? Should they try and help them or let them be or stop them? You know what I mean? I think that's an interesting element to it, because a lot of people just do take it for granted. Should we have access to this Earth? Or should we be trusted with it? And it's so friendly and vibrant that it again belies the really intense questions that are being asked here. And these are...
Vey Maria, what should I do?
Exactly. That's the main question. What should I do? What can we do? How do we fix this? Because it's one thing to talk about, how people are struggling to take responsibility for the world and you're completely pillaging it. But then it's like, yeah, okay, we know that this is happening. What can we do to change it? And that's the difficult part, is that people don't like being told what to do. It's tough, man. But I think it's good to ask questions like that. And again, I just think it's so charming how Vey Maria was done. Oy vey, right? It was so charming, but I think you kind of have to write it like that in order to make it something that people will want to consider, because if you make it aggressive, people are going to get turned off by it. One goodbye.
One goodbye must be the last.
I can't get over how much he sounds like the vocalist from Opeth. Greg, if you're watching this, listen to some of the acoustic stuff from Opeth. I know I've said this a few times now, but you are a dead ringer for it, man. And that guy is a phenomenal vocalist too. I just love his texture and the warmth and vibrancy, man. I dig it.
We all move in circles, and all circles close. We can't tell the future or our fate, I suppose. One word that haunts us both from the past.
It's nice to have those boom, 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 follow the vocal melody there to add a little bit of depth and grittiness to it. I dig it, man.
Sands of time flow much too fast.
And we're modulating their melody there to kind of make it a bit more happy sounding.
Being together, we hate being apart. No more stops on our journey. Trust in your heart. Each meeting so precious.
Okay.
Each moment so rare.
So the strings are coming in.
Time slips through our fingers. So till next time, take care.
Time slips through our fingers, so until next time, take care. So this is about the relationships that we have with people and making the most of them while they are with us. The life moves fast bit, how it goes to a minor tonality on the fast bit. It's just such a quick emotional shift. It's the beauty of what Greg does. He hits you hard, man, with these chords, these parallel majors and minors out of nowhere.
No time to cry, say hello, not goodbye. Each goodbye is something sad.
It can be, yeah.
But we take the good with the bad.
Exactly.
Don't take.
See, like, it's stuff like how it went with good with the bad and it had the minor chord. Is it saying that it's sad that we have to put up with it though? Like, these are some interesting questions that are being posed just by these little bits. This is the intelligence behind this music.
Dreams drift like smoke. Capture the moment, the promise we spoke.
Okay, we got that synthy horn brass bit going with the going with the guitar melody, which is fun. That extra layer in the higher frequencies is good. The reason it's good, sorry, that's very poor vocabulary on my part. The reason it's good is because it's a little bit extra that when you come back to this theme, it's like, oh, this is a new thing, even though it's repeated. Do you know what I mean? It refreshes it. That's better.
Time tries to change us. Resist while you can. Things that still bind us, our fates in our hands. On as friends, strong to the end. Put the blue in my sky. Say hello, not goodbye.
And you're finishing with a bum bum, as if to say at the ending, will we see each other again? You know, these are the stories that he's telling are very interesting, and there's actually a really interesting neutral tonality to the way he sings. You never get the impression that he's angry or upset, frustrated with a situation. We've got a musician who's able to deliver things in a very professional, mature manner. But he allows the music to get you to feel the things it needs to, and it's there's a lot of symbolism involved there. That's the strength of it. I think that once you start inserting your own emotions into your vocal performance, it makes it incredibly authentic, but you have to be as consistent as that throughout the whole entire 30-track album, and that's phenomenally difficult, and I don't think it's necessary. Greg Barnett is good enough without that. He doesn't need to, you know what I mean? It's enough the way it is. Pop song featuring Martin Hale.
I wanna write a pop song.
Woo, okay, let's go.
3 minutes and it's too long.
Yes.
Just
Yes.
3 chords can take
Preach.
us far. Riffs you can play on air guitar. Simple beat to make you tap your feet. Simple words you can repeat.
I think there's an underlying cynicism to this.
Stuff creeps in that I want to say. It just comes out that way. Things that hit me every single day. But before it turns to black and I become a maniac, I try to get this pop song back on track.
Oh, I get it. So this is about like trying to write music that's catchy, but you're actually a human being and not a robot. And so you're getting distracted by all this stuff that's not really a part of the vibe, you know. And I get it. I get what you're tilting at, Greg. Oh man, pop music sucks. It sucks when people expect you to write a certain way, man. I was wondering why this track was just below the 3-minute mark. Well played, Greg. Fun fact, a lot of time it's actually below, it's about 2 minutes now. A lot of pop songs I get now are 2 minutes. So have fun with that.
I know what you're looking for. So
yeah.
stay well clear of metaphor.
Oh yeah, no, don't do metaphors. People have to be spoon-fed lyrics and they can't have any complexity to it. It needs to be very, very easy for them to understand so that nobody has to think about it. I can see how that relates to a lot of the themes you've been talking about with people. I see you, Greg. I see you.
Cause you like me saying baby. So here it is, baby. Here's my pop song, baby. Change of heart.
Yeah, why is baby a thing? Like, I know I'm not really talking about the guitar, bass, and drums much. I think at this point, anyone who's watched the 2 hours through this review has pretty much surmised that the instrumental performances on this album are pretty on point. Like, there's the occasional bit where maybe the note doesn't come through as clearly as it needs to, but dude, it's like, it's a 30-track album, and I'd much rather have these occasional bits where it could have been done slightly differently than have a completely clinical, sterilized album that sounds boring, you know?
May not last. Pop songs
Organic is awesome.
20 words and 3 chords feel so thin.
Yeah.
A formula that's often taught. Where's the substance? Where's the thought? Should I throw this pop song in the bin? Pop, 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 pop.
Guitar solo! I gotta admit, Greg Barnett knows how to write a hell of a pop song, even if it's like a protest against pop songs. He knows how to write a hell of a pop song. All those unison bends are just... Oh, you've got to have unison bends. You can't have a guitar solo without unison bends, dude. Be thankful that you're not writing metal nowadays, because basically with like metal, like progressive metal nowadays, unless you're doing two-handed tapping, 7-string sweeps, you're not even playing the guitar. It's just fucking ridiculous, dude. Oh man. Ooh, I like this, dude. Tap, 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 tap.
This might well be a pop song.
Was that Martin Hale on the guitar, maybe? Trying to figure out where he was.
Squeeze in just one extra word. People say you're being absurd. Keep it swing and keep it fine. And draw the line at 2 minutes 59.
Yes! 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 Oh, that's one of my favorites from this. Oh, I love it. Dude, make this this is my anthem, dude. I want this to be like my ringtone when I wake up in the morning. I love the seething. There's an underlying, maybe I'm just imagining it, but my empathy, right? Is it empathy? My instinct listening to this, it's just making fun of the stupidity of the thing, you know? Like, there's just so many things I want to say about this, but the main message I want to say about the pop song featuring Martin Hale is, hey, that guitar solo was pretty sick. Well done. Well, performance was on point as well. Again, it was very neutral. Again, that really helps to not... There's a great irony with this album, actually, because I want to say it doesn't put people off listening to it, but like, that's only because people are listening to the music and feeling the groove of it, you know? When you get into a position where like people are actually having to think about it critically and constructively, then they might kind of get unnerved a little bit. But Greg Barnett puts you into a lull of like, oh yeah, this is a thing that's happening. Yeah, you got the dun 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 dun, and then you think about those lyrics for more than like 5-10 seconds, and you have an existential crisis in you. I realize. Ah, good stuff. Sunset 25, man. 6 tracks to go.
A pop song.
No, that's not the right one. We want Sunset. Thank you, Music Bee. Music Bee, what are you doing, buddy? This is what happens when you have the album art here, so you can't see the song title. I'll just make excuses, it's fine. People love excuses. Oh, we've got Sunrise and then Sunset. Again, this could be video game music. I think that if Greg Barnett is not making music for video games, he should. This would fit really well into a game like Stardew Valley or Terraria. You could replace the drums with MIDI drums and like have like a real kind of 16-bit tonality to it. And it would fit. Dude, make music for video games, man. I know that might not be your like kind of thing, but dude, you'd make money from that, I'm sure. This is magical and mystical element to this. You've got a floaty melody with a harmony that sounds like it's in space. That synth sounds like the stars. It's incredibly relaxing, isn't it? It's very, very bright though on the headphones. I'm glad that there isn't more of a frequency build resonance in the upper ones, because otherwise it might be a little bit too sharp. But it's okay. Yeah. You got those synth brass and a guitar. It's nice to have the drums step out for a little bit, actually. It's good to have breaks between percussion bits. There can be something real simple that changes up the song and keeps it interesting and retains engagement. Because you need engagement when you're listening to music. Sorry, that pop song really put me in a mood. I feel like playing some really heavy stuff, man. Oh, the shimmers are nice though. Are they cool? What are they called? Are they shimmers or are they chimes? I'm gonna have to like find the actual instrument that is, because I just, you know, I feel incredibly ignorant. But I've been doing this for a year and 2 months, and I still don't know the name of that instrument, even though I hear it like at least once a week. Yeah, this would have been difficult to mix this part, because you wanted to keep it nice and gentle whilst also including those drums in there. The shimmer, the sparkle, the magic of it all, man. It sounds like the sunset. Again, with no words. It just communicates that via the music. Well done. Shadows. Oh, that buzz roll. Oh, that was gorgeous. Like, I know the guitars have been fantastic throughout this. Shout out to the percussionist. Shout out to the drummer. I have not heard any fault whatsoever throughout this entire time. Whoever has done the drums on these tracks is just a machine, dude.
Tonight I called you, nothing happened. You didn't hear me call your name. So much sadness, oh my precious.
5/8, 7/8 timing for this.
There is no one I can blame. I thought that love would conquer all.
Or 5/6, 5/8, 6/8.
That truth would win. Carefree days in simple ways could be the base of friendship. Now
Oh, it's 5/4, isn't it?
and white for buried lies in landslips.
Sorry, I haven't really been paying much attention to the song. I've been trying to figure out the time signature, but I agree it's cool to hear a song in 5/4, especially with some of these jazzy elements that we've heard in the harmonies and the drum parts. It's great to commit to that 5/4
My
timing.
breath, day by day, leave the shadows behind you.
Nice vocal harmony there. It's cool to hear that. We don't hear too many vocal harmonies in this song.
I'll start dying.
Because that's like, we've heard backing vocals panned in the mix, but I haven't heard two. Maybe they've been octaves, or they've just been double tracked to the specific note. It's been really good to hear those vocal harmonies when they come in, though. Greg knows how to handle them really effectively. Okay, what I'm going to do is I want to take this song from the top and I want to listen through it again. Because I was paying more attention to the time signature of this than I should have been. We're going to listen through it one more time. Because this is quite an important song.
Tonight I called you, nothing happened.
Okay.
You didn't hear me call your name. So much sadness, oh my precious. There is no one I can blame. I thought that love would conquer all. truth would win.
So is this about someone not being able to rely on their partner, or them being disappointed by not showing up at the time of need?
Carefree days in simple ways could be the base of friendship. Now I'm looking far and wide for buried lies in landslips, breath by breath.
Buried lies and landslips. That's clever stuff. That's clever lyricism there. It really, he wanted to just have a nice, chill friendship with people. He just wanted to relax and be able to trust the people around him. And he's having to look through the remnants of the facades and just try and figure out what went wrong.
Day by day, leave the shadows behind you. If I give up, I'll start dying. You have always been the one. I will be there for you always, like a planet around your sun.
So is this about a relationship where there's not reciprocation of the good faith and respect and trust?
Wasn't this what we'd been looking for? Is my love not what you want?
Oh shit.
Return to things the way they were. I don't want them to be over.
Alright, we're changing this chorus up a little bit.
Call your name, come back to me, my lover. Step by step, day.
Okay, interesting. I'm starting to get a bit more. I'm glad I started this track from the start again. I'm going to remember to edit out some of what I listened to in the previous song. But yeah, this is a deep, dark one. This is about just that lack of faith in a relationship that person's going to have your back.
Leave the shadows behind you.
Oh, okay. Trying to step away from the darkness and try and find the light and have the faith of the people and get into happier relationships, or just to help the person get away from their kind of crappy past.
Return to things the way they were. They never will be over. I want this.
I think there's been some tracks earlier that have been talking about this sort of stuff.
Where are you now, my lover? If someday you come my way, I'll push those shadows behind you.
Ooh, legato rise. Well done holding that note there, Greg. That was well done. That was dope. That's one of the few times I've seen him kind of flex his vocal ability like that to hold the notes that long. That requires a great amount of technique and control over your breath and how you're producing that sound. So for him to hold it like that, there didn't need to be any vibrato or anything fancy, but just to hold that note clearly was really well done. You know, this 5/4 time signature signals a potential complexity to the situation, a sort of, not a melancholy, but a bittersweet nature to it. It kind of reminds me of Take 5 a little bit, or Autumn, what is Leaves? Oh no, I'm confusing it with Take 5, aren't I? My bad. That's probably, I'm really sorry. I didn't mean to get the two confused. I know I should know better. I'll go revise my jazz standards after this. I apologize. The Autumn Leaves is different to Take 5, obviously. You know, they're standards. My bad. But yeah, I think I got the hang of what Shadows was about eventually. This is obviously more of a vocal-focused one, although you had some really interesting buzz rolls happening on the drums. But it was more about the woe of the vocalist and what they were going through than, you know, any sort of really fancy, crazy stuff going on with the instruments, the guitars and stuff. Very sad one, actually, Shadows. Let it go, I mean. Oh, minor 7th.
I think it's time to say goodbye.
Is this following on from Shadows?
So long. We've tried real hard to make it right, not wrong. We did our best to talk it through. This world of me and you.
Okay, I get it. This one's very clear.
The air we share no longer tastes so good. Heaven knows we did all that we could. We didn't see.
The music's very neutral, isn't it? Like, I know it's still kind of trying to relate to the emotional content of the lyrics, but it's very much more about the message of the singer here than anything else.
Cracks that slowly grew.
Which is good. You don't want to have both parts complex. You don't want to have a complex instrumental section and a complex with a sort of thematically or literally like a melodically complex vocal section at the same time. It can become too much. You need to have one or the other.
Turn your back and look for something new.
Oh, the chorus coming in. There's vocal ahs. Nice shift up in the middle of the song. Kind of sounds like it's mourning the loss of me and you know? Sometimes things can't be repaired.
The good times and the memories tend to smooth the rough, but drifting paths can never make two halves.
I'm also acutely aware that this is piano-centric, which is kind of unusual for Greg Barnett, but I think that kind of works for like a ballad like this.
We always knew deep in our hearts that we would break apart.
Oh, that's rough.
When we're
Nice drum work there. Very succinct, classy fill.
Let's face the facts and act. There's nothing here. Sad songs can be much too long, I know. Admit defeat, you'll find your feet. Let go.
I suppose that's a good point, right? Sometimes you just need to let go of what you're struggling with. Sometimes, like he's talking about how they knew that they would break apart and now putting themselves under pressure and putting themselves in immense pain to try and rectify the situation when it's just not worth it. They need to just accept the inevitable, you know? I think that's a very mature, reasonable way to talk about it. The music isn't happy or sad. It is bittersweet. There's a bittersweet gentleness to it. It's not like either of them wanted for it to fail, but it just did. It sounds like Greg Barnett has had to deal with this in his life, and it's a very brutal thing to have to deal with. And I think that's part of what will allow this album to succeed, is that this is probably relatable to a lot of people, right? A separation by the choral R's. Okay, we got them replacing the vocal melody in this part now, which is cool. Cool. Well done with that ending tail on this with the chords. Oh. Section shift. We're not returning. There's no more story to be told. That's interesting. Oh. Modal shift. Or key change? Oh, it just blows me away how smooth these transitions are. It's effortless for Greg. It's so effortless for him, and it drives me insane. I'm so envious of how easily he moves between these different chord key signatures and his compositions. It's just, this is the power of knowledge, man. When you learn these things and you study it, you can just create this phenomenal music. Really brilliant. Let go. Told the story I needed to. And mourned it with the instrumental section at the end. Together. Oh, that guitar tone is kind of adorable, isn't it?
You're telling me bad news every night. Why don't you take time to show me some light?
Oh.
We're discovering new things every day. Shine like the sun, push darkness away. Sunrise every morning, stars fill the universe. Laugh or fight together, it's up to us.
Okay, this is interesting. You know, we're talking about choosing the messaging that we have for ourselves and also for other people, you know, our own narrative. Do we want to focus on the bad things or the good things? Do we want to try and measure it out and kind of apply it in a way that is rational and fair? I will be right back. Okay, I'm back.
Up to us, it's up to us.
Oh, now that was a very stop-starty kind of feel that we had there. Kind of thing like things were falling down, right?
You're here with me, and if luck goes our way, we'll be stronger together, me and you, day by day.
There's a sense of hope and optimism to this chord progression. You've got some really interesting 4 or 5 note chord harmonies going on here that are just unusual in a lot of music today. And I'm kind of not used to hearing them, and they're like oxygen for me.
Looking after each other and the planet we're on. Together we'll dream to repair all that was wrong. We'll no longer focus on the negative things.
Cool.
With voices together, with joy we could bring. In this garden of Eden, in peace and tranquility, living life together. It's up to you, it's up to me.
Okay, I'm liking the intensity of the volume, the little mild crescendos that are going on here. It goes, because that brings, it's like the intensity, you and me, it forces you to pay attention to it. He's really emphasizing how we're all responsible for working together to improve it. It's not just the message of the C-bomb anymore at the start. There's been this growth. It's like, yeah, we should probably try and work together if we want to fix this. Even though the points of the C-bomb are valid. Which is objectively true. You know, we will be stronger together. Again, like a lot of us expect there to be groups of 4 or groups of 8 bars to sections. So for him to day by day, for him to kind of expand that into 5 or 6 bars is just different. It's nice to try different things and to be creative with that. Again, a shift of tonality and texture with this kind of synthy. Oh, and the guitars. Call and response.
Continues endlessly.
Was that meant to be between the you and the me, the 2 groups of people communicating with each other? Is that what that was?
Fate is ours to make. The choice lies here before us. So will we
There was a gentle love to that voice. I think that Greg genuinely wants people to work together to improve things. I think he's not just giving up hope on humanity in general.
And if luck goes our way, we'll be stronger together, me and you, day by day.
That was an interesting vocoder effect going on there. I wasn't expecting that. And harmony at the end there was a little bit rough. Like, and I'm not saying it's bad. It was just there's quite a lot of tension to it, but then it resolved itself quite nicely with the interval. What an adventure we've been on with the Flat White album, haven't we? That was that. Yeah, it was refreshing to hear Greg talk about the hope for a better future and to not kind of tear ourselves apart. I dig that a lot. There was a sense of hope and optimism in that track, even though there were little bits of maybe some flat fives or, you know. And again, the drums were just pocketing, the bass was pocketing, and he knew where to put in the fresher elements of those synth pads for effect. Great. We got Earthrise, 29. My goodness, this is gonna be this is 3 hours, this review. This is gonna be a real journey, man.
Earthrise on a dead and dusty plain, a precious diamond shining in the dark. Your eyes begin to water and your chest just aches in pain. All you know held in that little spark, a mother like no other, carried us for oh so many years.
Oh, this is talking about Mother Nature, how she's taking care of us and she's having a rough time right now. It's talking to her directly.
But that blue has turned a different hue and no longer seems so crystal clear.
Again, these metaphors are stunning.
Like a lighthouse in the black of night, brings us home from the great beyond.
This is a very powerful song, actually.
I see no nations down there, or why they have to fight. The same water, air and land joins everyone.
The music is so beautiful and gorgeous in this one. It's a very fragile instrumental composition here. It's very caring though at the same time. I don't know how to describe how it's making me feel. It's kind of getting to me a little bit in a good way.
Like no other, we've beaten down and turned our back upon, and that hue so blue has disappeared from view. Once beautiful, her face is turning brown.
Oh.
All the teeming billions have run right out of luck. We didn't think about the cost to turn that extra buck. We've all missed the chances to save our home and stay. Now bereft, no options left, we'll have to sail away.
Yeah, that's the real talk right now, because people are talking about going to other planets. Fuck, it makes me so miserable, dude. It's like, great, if we go to another planet, are we just gonna ruin that one as well? I completely understand what Greg is talking about here. Like, I think this should be one of his singles, Earthrise. I think this is an incredibly brilliant track. Part of why I like this so much is because Greg sounds so good in his head voice, that upper range. It sounds so gentle, and it sounds incredibly sad. It kind of...
The earth can rise no more.
This is one of those classic tracks where the message is a lot darker than the music, and he's trying to balance out the intensity of the themes involved, but dude, anyone paying close attention to those lyrics, beautiful sounding track. If you're paying attention, you think, oh, that's a pretty sounding tune. But nah, man, there's a real talk in that. And he's right. I've been reading that scientists are saying there could potentially be no going back now. We've run out of opportunities to do that. And that's the future. So that's the future I have another 50 years involvement in as a 30-year-old. So fuck my life. We got Frogs in a Pan, number 30, the last track on the album.
How can you sleep at night, Mr. Politician Man? How can you better live at all? When what you do will flush the world down the pan, just so you can feel proud and tall. You have enough bombs to end the world. Making more won't change a thing.
This kind of reminds me of the way that the solo section, the chord progression goes in Stairway to Heaven. Greg in this one just sounds really pissed off and frustrated. And the tone of his voice doesn't, because in his head voice, it's not like he's going really gritty to sound aggressive. He's trying to be diplomatic about it, but you can tell he's just sick of it, right?
So many better problems to solve for us all, but you'd rather feel more like a king. Power. So how much do you need? Money. You make our pockets bleed. Position. You make us bow with you. Just open your eyes and see. Mr. Politician, please do what you can.
Oh, that's a bombastic, sassy little melody on that brass. On the brass there, right? I dig it.
Got to turn down the heat. We're just frogs in a pan.
Oh, there's where that line was coming in. It was so smooth, dude.
Even though you may
Expert.
have a good heart inside and think you do the best that you can.
That tone of the guitar there has grown on me a little bit. Like, for real, I wasn't super keen on it at the start, but it kind of makes sense in regards to some of the other instruments involved.
Be up to one man.
Just because you got these acoustic instruments, it kind of got me at first, you know?
End up lying on a bed of nails. We're just a speck of dirt in the great void of space that we cling to with our fingernails. Power. So how much do you need? Money. You make our pockets bleed. Position. You make us bow in the just open your eyes and see.
Yeah, it's pretty brutal way because, like, just talking about that, I try not to get involved in politics on my channel, but also I can, you know, this is a music review. We've got some pretty heavy topics in this, and I think it's okay to talk about it as long as you're not a dick about it, right? You know, with the pockets bleeding and the power and the position and all that, it's not going to really matter much if we're frogs in a pan, right? And we're not here in like 30 years' time. It's not going to matter much, all that work. It's just kind of, this whole situation's really just stupid, isn't it?
Mr. Politician.
I like how it's Mr. Politician, because there's lots of them. And also, what the beauty of that also kind of avoids, you know, if people find out you've written the song, you're going to get the people who will just come into bat from anyways. And some people, especially with politics, are incredibly vicious and toxic. So it's a smart move going Mr. Politician. In the same way that it was a smart move having more than just, you know, Trump in the C-bomb. You know, having multiple politicians there makes it sound like you're just addressing people in general talking about it. Which is a smart move. And that was the final message, saying to the politicians, yo, you are literally responsible for the rest, for us having a future, please don't ruin it for everyone. Wow. Wow. We have listened through 30 tracks over the last few listening sessions from the Flat White album by Greg Barnett. I don't think there was a single weak track on this album. There are parts which I pointed out that I wasn't so sure about, which I think is important to do, because if I was just to give this album a passing grade, say it was perfect, when I found stuff I didn't like, that would be disingenuous, wouldn't it? Especially because this is literally the biggest music review I'd ever done in my life. Three hours long. Of course, if I upload this to YouTube, I will be putting chapters in so that people can see where all 30 of the songs are for reference, as I'm sure for Greg Barnett watching this, he will also probably need to have chapters for this. But the reality is, this is basically, I think this is the big one for Greg. I don't imagine that there's a way anytime soon that he's going to be able to do anything bigger than this, just because, at least from my perspective, without knowing a lot about Greg, this would have been a phenomenal amount of effort. This is not something you write in a couple of days and just spit out onto the internet. The amount of time would have taken to record the individual parts, to structure and record these songs, the chord progressions were not simple at all. There were some really complex melodies going on there and complex harmonies going on there. Each of these tracks had their own unique identity. To write the lyrics for like at least 24 or 25 of the songs that weren't instrumentals, to know to put like Last Post and Agincourt in there, and it's not just this, like the staging of the album, knowing to spread different tracks apart to allow people to sort of come down from the intensity of a track like A Little Death, for example, right? Or Last Post coming into Sunrise. And just, this is a lot of who Greg Barnett is as a person, his struggles, his experiences with love and relationships, his understandings and affiliations and interests, and I suppose despair with things like The Last Post and Agincourt, where you hear of the person that had a perfectly wonderful life as a working in the fields after they crash landed in foreign territory. And even though they could have lived a happy life and had a family and stuff like that, they still wanted to go back because they felt this need to represent their country. It's, even though the country was invading the one that they went into, I think. I may have that wrong. I don't quite know. You've got the conservation elements were the one that stood out for me the most. I think that Greg Barnett wants the best for people, and I think that genuinely, this is one of the most mature, reserved takes I've had on the need to preserve the earth and take better care of it. For someone to put this much effort into writing the music on this album, and then to be him to be as composed and sort of, for him to be able to deliver Earthrise like that and to not just be screaming at people in rage and anger, which I would completely understand given how strongly he feels about it. He's just so smart, and he knows that that's not the way to talk to people. I think even though this album is over 2 hours long, removing the talky talks I've been doing over this, thank goodness I don't have to do subtitles for this. You could not pay me to do subtitles for this. Or to get someone else to do subtitles for this. It'd just be too prohibitively expensive. I don't really know what else to say about this. I've covered all 30 tracks within each of them. This is why I listen to the tracks like individually, so that people can get my thoughts on each of them. And I know I've had to stop and take a double take on some of them just because I think I missed parts. But I think that's me simply caring enough about the music, because if anything, Greg Barnett has definitely won my respect. What would I do if the music in this album, put it this way, if there'd been even one track in this album that I had thought had not been particularly good, I would have been disappointed. Because when you're writing a 30-track album, that needs to be perfect. You can't have a single weak track, because say the 8th song, A Little Death, was just terrible. People aren't going to listen to the other 22nd. Do you know what I mean? There's only a limited amount of singles you can put out for an album before people feel like they're being oversaturated, and before the people that were going to listen to the album would have listened to it. You know what I mean? So this is a careful collection of different things that Greg wanted to write about. It was carefully staged and selected. The parts were recorded practically flawlessly, bar one or two things that I think were stylistic anyways. The performances recorded were just succulent, and I can understand why Greg feels the way he is, not only because of the lyrics and the way he sang, but also because of the way he cleverly incorporated the emotions into the musicality of it as well, the instrumentation, the little instruments and some of the synthy bits and the pads and the brass and just everything there. I think this is self-evident in a lot of what I've said about this album. I don't want to sort of like reiterate too much, especially because people who are watching this have watched a 3-hour review and they probably don't want to hear me go through each of the 30 tracks again. You've got chapters in this YouTube video for the specific reason, but it's basically pretty much a 10 out of 10 for me. Well, without hyperbole here, I'm hoping that Greg, I'm hoping this is his big one. I hope he finds success with this if he hasn't already. He deserves it. I'm also hoping that people take the time to listen through this album in the way it has been put here, because if they don't, they might miss some important contextual clues here. I'm sorry to hear that Greg Barnett has struggled so much with his relationships, but I'm hoping that he's found better days now. I'm hoping he's found people who can work together with him. I'm glad that he can look at the stuff objectively and find the best way of dealing with his situation, because even if the situation, especially with the planet Earth, feels hopeless, he still has a little bit of hope if we can get together. And I wouldn't trust the politicians either. Just between you and me, I just don't. I mean, I live in New Zealand, and not to get, I think our government understands, like, they're trying to get they're putting subsidies on like electric cars, and a lot of the power companies are trying to switch to renewable energy and stuff like that, which is good. But we've still got our fair share of people who just don't care, and it just sucks. And I live in a city at the moment where we will experience flooding that will reclaim these parts of the city that I live in. So a lot of people are looking to move to the hills. So that's fun. And yeah, it's going to be a wild ride. But anyways, this is my review of Greg Barnett's The Flat White Album. Hopefully you enjoyed it. For those who watched this review in its entirety, thank you. I know this would have been an absolute nightmare for a lot of my subscribers who predominantly speak Chinese and who will have no idea why I've done this review without subtitles. This just would have been it just wouldn't have been tenable if I'd had to put subtitles with this. The subtitles I have, even though they're a lot better than they used to be, still aren't perfect, and so I just needed to do this one without the subtitles. If you did enjoy this, go show Greg Barnett some love. He genuinely cares about people. He wants to have intelligent conversations with you about the stuff that he thinks about. He's treated you with respect as a listener by trying to play the best performances he can, making really interesting music, and recording it well and professionally. And I just don't think you're going to get better than this anytime soon. The guy's just an absolute, he's an expert at what he does. And it's evident throughout listening to this review. And I just wasn't bored. And that's saying something, because I tend to get bored very, very easily, especially after the amount of music that I've listened to. Stay cool, stay safe. Remember to support your local musicians and artists at this point in time, as we need the help more than ever with all the crazy stuff going on in the world. Catch you in the next review. Spider hands out.